Hello and welcome to today's virtual experience from the Kentucky Historical Society. The Kentucky History Center is open to the public with limited capacity and many safety measures. We're open on Tuesdays through Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And the research library upstairs is open from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Wednesdays through Saturdays. We look forward to opening up other parts of our campus in the coming weeks as it is safe to do so. Although we are open, we want to continue engaging with you virtually and offering online programming to those who cannot visit in person. Today, our Teacher Programs Manager, Claire Gwaltney, will share items from our Traveling Trunks program relating to women's suffrage. My name is Greg, and throughout today's tour, I will act as your voice, relaying questions live during the tour. So be sure to ask lots of questions and let me know you're here. Also responding to your questions and providing more content in the comment section is our Kentucky history advocate, Stuart Sanders. We're trying some new microphones again today, and I seem to have challenges with them. I'm going to try to switch over to Claire's mic, so give me just a second.
Hey everybody, I hope you can hear me. Like Greg said, my name is Claire, and we are really excited to be with you today for another virtual tour. Even though we are open and we hope you come see us soon, we love coming to you directly to your phones and your laptops and your homes. And like Greg said, today we are going to talk all about women's suffrage, and we're going to do that by using one of our traveling trunks, this one right here, which we ship out to classrooms around the state during the school year. Hopefully we'll be doing that again soon. So let's start by explaining exactly what suffrage is. Suffrage is the right to vote, which is something that women and many others in the United States did not get when the country was founded back in the 1700s, and it was not in the Constitution. But by the early 1800s, reform groups were popping up all over the United States for causes like anti-slavery, various religious causes, and temperance, which is related to alcohol or not having alcohol. And oftentimes women played prominent roles in these groups. This was also the period when the women's suffrage movement began as well. And one of the pivotal moments of the women's suffrage movement was the Seneca Falls Convention, which occurred in New York in 1848. And the participants at that time wrote something called the Declaration of Sentiments, which you can see right here. And the Declaration declared that all men and women are created equal. And this is actually something that we have here at the Kentucky Historical Society. We have a copy of the Declaration of Sentiments, and you can view that in our digital collection. So I think Stuart's going to put a link to that in the chat box. So definitely check it out.
Cheryl said, nice shirt, Claire.
Thank you. Yes, it was featuring the old state capitol, which I thought would be appropriate for today's topic, talking about suffrage. Now, the suffrage movement had picked up steam by the end of the 19th century. It got more organized, more widespread, and many suffragists started staging protests and parades to help bring attention to their cause. And one thing that they would use are boxes like these, a soapbox. They would take something like this to a street corner or a park. They'd plop it down, stand on top, and they'd give a speech about why suffrage was important or other causes that were important to them.
Yeah, that old slogan.
Standing on your soapbox. So if you've ever heard that today, basically it means that somebody's about to get on their soapbox and tell you what they think about something, and they're going to try and convince you to their way of thought. And this was a tactic that suffragists at the turn of the 19th century, turn of the 20th century, would often use to sway others to their cause.
You know, Claire, I keep thinking about all of the different protests and opportunities that people are having to share their own thoughts right now on so many different topics, including Black Lives Matter and
And so you could even think of something like social media, Twitter or Facebook. That's a type of soapbox, right? It's just a digital soapbox instead of a physical one.
So we're sort of on our soapbox right now.
Right now. Now, oftentimes women, when they would get on their physical soapbox, they would have some suffrage flair with them. So maybe they would have a banner, or they would have a flag featuring the suffrage colors of purple, white, or yellow. They might also wear a cockade, which are pins, again with slogans talking about their cause. And again, it would all be in those suffrage colors. So if you have an idea of what the colors of purple, white, and yellow represented in the suffrage movement, I'd love for you to share that in the chat box. And Kentucky women were also protesting and participating in these parades on the national level. So for instance, one of the items in our trunk, should I hold it up for you?
Yeah, there's a little shine on it there.
So one of the items in our trunk, this is from a little bit later, it's from 1913 from a newspaper, but it's about Kentucky women who were asked to take part in a suffrage parade in Washington, D.C. So definitely a national movement, and they were working hard to get the word out about the importance of suffrage. Now, World War I definitely helped women achieve suffrage. During World War I, women joined the military, they drove ambulances, they took jobs in factories, they kind of held things together while their husbands, their brothers, their sons were off fighting. And so after World War I, the 19th Amendment to the Constitution was ratified, which means it was approved. And that happened on August 18, 1920, and it gave American women the right to vote. And the following November, approximately 8 million women voted and helped vote President Warren G. Harding into office. But women's suffrage was not an easy thing to achieve. There were many Kentuckians and many people nationally, like journalist Henry Watterson from Louisville, who actively worked against the suffrage movement. And then there was also disagreement amongst the suffragists themselves on whether or not they should be working towards suffrage for all women or just suffrage for white women. And we're very lucky in Kentucky in that we've had several prominent African American women like Mary Church Terrell and Nannie Helen Burroughs, who worked to achieve suffrage for all women. And so some of these women are featured in this trunk. So for example, here is a newspaper article about Mary Church Terrell from 1900, and all about what she was doing for the women's fight for equality.
I think Stuart will share that in the link as well.
I don't know if I gave him this one to share.
Okay.
Sorry everybody. Okay. All right, so let's come over here and look at some stuff in our exhibit.
All right.
So we are also lucky in that the Kentucky governor at that time, he supported women's suffrage. And his name, and pictures right here, his name was Edwin P. Morrow. And he actually signed the 19th Amendment in January of 1920 before it was ratified nationally. So we were a little bit ahead of the curve, which is pretty cool. And as you can see in this photo, this is that moment when he was signing that bill to give women the right to vote. Here we have a group of suffragists surrounding him. This lady right here is actually my favorite because she's watching him like a hawk. She's like, "You're going to sign that. You're going to give me the vote, mister." So I love her. But you can also see that they're wearing their sashes, their suffrage bling, maybe something similar in style to this commemorative pin from when Morrow was voted governor. But all of those sashes and pins would have been in those suffrage colors of purple, white, and yellow. Did anyone have an idea, Greg, of what those colors might represent?
No one yet has offered any ideas.
No one yet.
Well, ask that question again in case someone missed it before.
Sure. So what did the colors of purple, white, and yellow, the colors of the women's suffrage movement in the United States, what do those colors represent? What do they mean for those women? If you know, tell us in the chat box.
Yeah, let us know.
Now we have one more thing to look at from our traveling trunk.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so even though women's suffrage, it happened 100 years ago, we've made lots of really great strides since then, but women maybe not totally equal still. So the other thing I want you to share in the chat box is if you know of a woman who's done something outstanding since suffrage, I'd love for you to share her name and maybe a sentence about what she achieved. A good example of this would be, who was the lady that ran for president in 2016? You guys remember? Hillary Clinton, right? So back in 2016, we had a legitimate female contender for US president in Hillary Clinton. And here you can see some campaign buttons from a few years ago. So just like the cockades that women wore back in the early 1900s, we are still wearing political buttons or buttons representing other causes today to help share our beliefs with others. And this one I think is really cool because it's the past meeting the present, saying 19th Amendment people, vote for Hillary.
Very cool. So yeah. Kristen, one of our friends, commented, and she said that purple is usually representative of loyalty.
Yes, Kristen, you're exactly right.
And Jan chimed in and said loyalty, purity, and hope for those three colors.
Okay, Jan, you get the gold star. Yes, so purple stands for loyalty.
Is it a yellow or
I'll give you a yellow star, a yellow or gold star. Yeah, so purple means loyalty, white is purity, yellow means light, life, hope, things like that. So that's kind of what we have to share with you about suffrage today. Also, like I said, be thinking about some of these outstanding women who have done things since suffrage, and we're going to give you a little teaser about next week's. Come walk with me, everybody.
All right.
So some women that I thought of who've done some outstanding things would be like Rosalind Franklin, the scientist who helped discover DNA. She might not have ever been able to be a scientist, until all these new opportunities for women started. Another great one is Katharine Graham, who was the first female CEO of a Fortune 500 company, so a very powerful businesswoman. They were able to achieve these things in part because of the suffragist movement of the early 1900s. A great example of an outstanding Kentucky woman.
Wait, pause.
Drum roll, please.
Because Kate just asked, has a woman ever run for governor of Kentucky?
Kate, that is the perfect segue. I don't know how many women have run for governor in Kentucky, but we have one outstanding Kentucky lady who's been governor. Dun, dun, dun. Here is Miss Martha Lane Collins, who was governor from 1983 to 1987. And spoiler alert, everybody, next Tuesday's virtual tour is going to be all about Martha Lane Collins. My buddy Jennifer is going to give it, and Jennifer is Martha Lane's #1 fan. So you're going to learn tons about this lady and what she accomplished during her time as governor for the state of Kentucky.
Very cool. So make sure you tune in next Tuesday for our next virtual tour with Jennifer talking about Governor Martha Lane Collins. This coming Thursday, so 2 days from now, we have a new program. It is our virtual trivia night, and you can sign up for that on Facebook or on our website. We'll post some information about that in the comments so that you can find out more about that. We want to thank you all for joining us today. Our next tour is, as I said, our next program is Thursday with the virtual trivia night. That's June 18th, and I think it happens at 7:30 p.m. We're doing it after work as a relaxing thing, a chance to have fun with Kentucky history. Make sure you follow us on all of our social media. Consider becoming a member of the Kentucky Historical Society to support programming just like this. And thanks so much to Claire for being our wonderful guide today. Visit our website at history.ky.gov, virtual visitor, to learn more. Let me check if we've got any last minute questions. I'll continue to monitor our social media for the next hour or so. So if you do have any questions, post them there and we'll try to respond back to them. Oh, Richard wanted to point out that Thelma Stovall held state offices as well. Yeah, there's a lot of women. And right now we have a female lieutenant governor as well, who was in the building yesterday.
And who's a teacher, so shout out to all our Kentucky teachers.
Yeah, absolutely. And once again, we can point out, how can teachers get the box?
Yeah, that's a great question. You just go to our website, which, like Greg said, is history.ky.gov. Click on educators, and then there'll be a big box saying traveling trunks. We have 3 of them. You just fill out an online form, and then I'll get in touch with you, and we'll sort out all the dates and everything.
Thanks, everybody. We love connecting with you, whether you can be here or not. We are open to the public, so if you can come down, put on a mask. We've got sanitizer everywhere. Take safety precautions and visit us. And if you can't, keep connecting with us virtually here on social media. Thanks again, everyone. Stay safe and healthy at home, and go Team Kentucky.